so I was the oddity. But it was great, and you could kind of work out what was going on just from the volume and the occasional word here and there. One of the things I enjoyed most about my time in Peru actually had nothing to do with Spanish. When I went back over after meeting my wife, and we were going to be living in her parents' house on the farm where we grew coffee and all these sorts of things, I had an opportunity to be surrounded by people who'd grown up in this quite remote area, which had been made even more remote by a terrible river surge, a flood that had destroyed all the railway access. For many years there wasn't access at all. They had to build a road which was very poor and it kept collapsing. But the greatest thing was that I got the chance to spend time in this local community, and a lot of the people there, their first language was Quechua, and they spoke Spanish as well, but not perfectly, so I picked up a lot of linguistic habits from them, should we say, ways of expressing myself. But it was lovely. I don't speak Quechua, and it's my one greatest regret is that I never had the time to fully learn it. My wife understands it and she speaks it a little bit. But the great thing is, I would sit in on town meetings, and they used to go on for hours, and lots of people would repeat themselves, but local village politics in two languages, because some people would stand up and talk in Quechua, particularly the older ones, and then someone would respond in a bit of Quechua and a bit of Spanish. And in the early days they would look over at me, and because I was the only white guy, the only gringo, and I was living in the town, and I'd married my wife, so I was the oddity. But it was great, and you could kind of work out what was going on just from the volume and the occasional word here and there, because a lot of the Quechua speakers would throw in the occasional Spanish word because maybe there wasn't a word in Quechua because it's quite an ancient language. But I loved it. I really loved it. Didn't understand a great deal. We had a young daughter, 15-month-old daughter in the early days, so I was mostly sort of keeping her occupied if she had to go up, if everyone was up at the meetings. It was a 10-minute walk from the house. And my wife was obviously reintegrating into village life because she hadn't been living there for quite a while. It was fab. Really happy days, even though some of the meetings were very frustrating, and 5 hours sometimes just sitting around. It was really hot and lovely, and under a mango tree, and people would have refreshments and bits and pieces. But just the fact of listening to those different languages was the most awesome thing. I loved it.